Today I have a video that's a little different than normal. I bought this box of Game Boy, N64, and Super Nintendo games, as well as a couple extra special things for those consoles, all the way from Japan. I did this because a lot of Japanese games are a lot cheaper than buying them in America. So as I unbox this today, I'll show you the US prices versus the Japan prices, which are what I paid for them. And shipping all the way from Japan can be kind of expensive. It was $20 starting price for shipping, but everything I added onto that combined for a really cheap shipping price. So everything I got in this box was for a really good deal. I'm excited to show you all that I got, and let's open it up. Ah, nice. Street Fighter 2 is one of the most iconic and best fighting games ever made. This is an original version for the Super Famicom, but I'm going to refer to it as the Super Nintendo throughout the video because that's what it is for the American audience, and that's what I have. This is in really good shape. I got this one for around $2, less than $2. Super nice. The label looks so cool. The box art on this, in my opinion, looks way better than the American version. The American version is not too expensive, but still $15 compared to $2. I mean, that's a no-brainer. This had like 30-cent shipping added on as well. So, all right, next game. Let's see what it is. Super Mario Kart. This is classic. Really good cover art on this. That's kind of a pattern that we'll have with these Japanese cartridges, is they have really good label art. Maybe it's just me seeing different versions of these, but I think that the cover art looks really good. This cartridge is in even better condition. There's no whitening on this label. Just looks really good. Super excited about this. This is not a game I have physical. Obviously I have it on NSO, but it's better to play it on the original. And next up we've got, Fire Emblem. Now, this is a Fire Emblem game that I don't think was released in America at all. I may be wrong, but either way, I bought this so that I could get the ROM of it and do the English translation and play it. I just got my first Fire Emblem game for Christmas from my good friend over at A Stuffed Potato. You can check him out, and he got me Fire Emblem Awakening for Christmas. We're really good friends. So this will be a super cool one. Very nice. And the last one from this stack, we've got Puyo Puyo 2 Remix. This is one of my favorite games. I love playing this with my cousin. As you'll see, I bought a lot of different copies of this for different consoles throughout this video. This was one of the games that I really wanted that I could only get from Japan. In America, this is Kirby's Avalanche, which is really pretty expensive. I think it's like $40. This was $1.60. Definitely a better price. And there's a little bit of menu text that is in Japanese, but if you can get past that, you can play the game totally fine without any language barrier. It is awesome. Alright, the next stack. Here's some Game Boy games. Really excited. As you know, I'm a big Game Boy guy. I love Game Boy stuff. Let's zoom in a little bit because these cartridges are smaller. And here we go. This packaging is amazing. I love how they rubber band everything so that nothing shakes around. Alright, first cartridge is Wario Land, also known as Super Mario Land 3. This is a super good game. I don't think there's very much text at all in this, so there's no real language barrier for US or PAL users to get the Japanese version. Obviously the art is going to be a little different with some Japanese text above Wario Land and below, and probably some menu text. But this is a really good game to pick up. It's only I paid about $4 for this, which is a little more on the expensive side, which is funny to say. But in comparison to the other games I bought, this was a little more expensive. This will be a great game because this comes in more closer to $25 for a US version. Next up is another copy of Puyo Puyo 2 for the Game Boy, so I can play this whenever I want because it's just such a good puzzle game. It's so classic. They have it on the Switch now. It's all over the place, but this was $1. So that will be a really fun one to play. Again, not really too much of a language barrier, just in the home menu. So next up, let's see. We got another copy of Puyo Puyo 2 for $1. I bought this so that I could play Link Cable with a friend. If I could ever find a friend who has a Game Boy, I would be very excited to have this game to play with them because it's so fun, such a fun puzzle game. So yeah, if I ever find a friend with a Link Cable and a Game Boy, that would be awesome. I have a Link Cable too, so. And next up we have Pokemon Yellow. Now this game, I got this for $3 from Japan with 4-cent shipping, and in America this game can run you around $50, something really expensive like that. It's such a good game, and I've always wanted it, but I don't really want to pay that price point a lot of the times. As you'll notice, this is a gray cartridge, whereas compared to the original Game Boy games, they have colors. I have Pokemon Red here, but this would be a yellow cartridge. This game has a heavy language barrier, as most of the game is dialogue or text-based. As a goal this year, I decided I wanted to learn Japanese, learn to read Japanese so that I can get games like this better, and especially games for my WonderSwan, which I will do a restoration video on one of these days. I bought this from Japan a long time ago with some other broken Game Boys that I got really good deals on, but it needs a new polarizer on the front and just needs to be cleaned up. But every game for the WonderSwan is only in Japanese because this never got released in America. As a goal this year, I want to learn Japanese so that I can play some of these games and fully enjoy the Game Boy and the WonderSwan library. And last game in this stack is Donkey Kong Game Boy. I've never played any of the Donkey Kong games on the Game Boy or the Super Nintendo. I've played Donkey Kong 64 and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, but I haven't gotten super deep into the genre. But here's a good one, so I'm excited about this. I paid, I think, $2 for this, and this is not too expensive in America, running around $15. So I have here a Super Game Boy in the original box. This is a really cool item. This allows you to play Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo. So this is a really cool peripheral. A lot of people make Game Boy consoleizers today, which are, you put the Game Boy game in, then you can play it on the TV or the controller. But if you have a Super Nintendo, this is the same idea. This original box is really super cool. I don't have anything like this. Super excited. The box is in super good shape. I paid $12 for this with the original box and the peripheral itself, which is just an amazing deal. This was the most expensive thing to ship, so everything else got added onto this. So this was a $20 shipping, so I paid about $30 for this. But then everything else was combined shipping on top of it. It even comes with the original manual. One of the coolest things about this is that you can change the color palettes and a few other things like that make you really improve your gameplay experience, as the original Game Boy wasn't in color and didn't have super good visual quality. So that's super cool. This is the manual, and then here is the actual thing itself, and it is in immaculate condition. Good gracious, I love this thing. I've wanted to get my hands on one of these things since I started collecting Game Boy stuff. I am so excited to have one of these. These run for about $30 unboxed in America, and I bought this one for $11 in the box from Japan. Really exciting. And it even has this little insert at the bottom here with the controller, just showing about it, and this little box insert here. Really, really cool. I have another really cool item that goes with that, not as special, but I needed another Super Nintendo controller. So I bought a Super Famicom controller, which is exactly the same, except it has different colored buttons. But the cable end is all the same, all the buttons are the same. It's just that different coloration and a different logo, and it's in really good shape. I got this for $10. These controllers run around $30 in America, so that was a really good find to get. Here is it compared to my Super Nintendo controller I have. And it has a little discoloration, but it still looks pretty good. As you can see, there's the different colored buttons there, as the color scheme for the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom were different. As we're getting closer to the end here, we're going to do one more stack before we hit the biggest ticket items. So, on top here, we have, you guessed it, Puyo Puyo 2 for the Sega Game Gear. Of course, I need to get this on as many consoles as possible because it's amazing game. But yeah, this is my first Game Gear game. I don't have a Game Gear yet, but I plan on restoring one soon. I may or may not make a video on that, but I needed a game to go with it, and this was $3. So, really good pickup there. Amazing price. Can't beat it. And it came in the original case, protective carry case, which is super awesome. Just a nice touch that they would throw that in for just a really good price. Awesome. Next up, we have Kirby's Dream Course, one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. It's just a really fun one that you can play casually with other people, or you can play on your own to beat your own high scores. Really fun. I love the box art on this. The checkers is one of my favorite things on the Super Nintendo. You'll see it in like the Earthbound menu and in this game. Really cool on the Super Nintendo, so yeah. Yeah, really good condition. There you go. Next up, we have 3 N64 games. So let's see which one is first. Oh, Mario Kart 64. Now, I have no idea how much this game costs in America. I know very little about Mario Kart 64. It's one of the only Mario Kart games I haven't played. It's actually the only Mario Kart game I haven't played. So, this will be super cool to try out. I paid $3 for this. Really good price, really good condition. And the N64's region lock is just this little nub. With the other games, there's no region locking on the Game Boy at all. And on the Super Nintendo, they're just little they're just little pieces of plastic that you can cut off. But with this one, you have to 3D print a little bracket thing or cut them off with a Dremel. It's not quite as easy, but this will be awesome. Ooh, Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards. This is a really cool game, I've heard. I have never played it. I've seen that it's on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, but I didn't want to buy that because I don't really play my Switch. I like the retro stuff. But this will be a super fun game to have. I paid $2 for this. And yeah, this is a really good condition. Super shiny and still with very little scratching or anything. You'll probably need a new save battery, as most things in this probably will at that price point, but we'll see. This game also has very little text. As with Kirby games, they're very good to get on Game Boys and stuff from Japan because they have very little text in them. And the last N64 game is Super Smash Bros. Or as in Japan, this has some differences in gameplay in terms of balance patches because back in the day they didn't have internet to update games. So this game actually plays a little different than the American one. But again, if you know how to play the game, there's a lot of English in this. There's very little Japanese text. Most stuff is in English as well. So that makes it really convenient. But I just love the box art on this, and it would be cool to have more of this because this was the first Smash game I played. I grew up with this, one of my favorite games ever. Super excited about that. Great condition. I paid $2 for this game. And last but definitely not least, here are the big guns. These are the games that have the biggest price difference than what I paid for them, or maybe not all of them in here, but I can definitely tell that 3 of them have a huge price margin. and I'm really excited about this stack. This is kind of the reason I made the order here, so I'm excited to show you guys this one. Here we go. So there are 4 Game Boy games and 2 3DS games, and I'm going to start with the 3DS games. So here we got Pokemon Y. This game still runs for around $40 in America because the Pokemon games just do not lose popularity over time. All of the Pokemon games are really worthwhile in playing. This one is super cool because you've got the Japanese text here, but under there it says Pokemon. I paid $6 for this game. Very excited about that price point. That is crazy. That is $34 cheaper than normal. And with 4-cent shipping added onto this order, it was a no-brainer to order it. And this will definitely be a game that would be super difficult to play if you don't know Japanese. But thankfully, I have a 3DS with custom firmware on it that I installed. And there's a program I can use through Homebrew called Luma Locale, where I can change the region of games after I've loaded them into my 3DS so that I can play this in English, which is just amazing. So that will be awesome to be able to do that. Next 3DS game, we have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and I'm not sure which one this is, but it's one for the 3DS. And same deal here. I can use Luma Locale to change the region of this game and play it in English, which will be super cool. And for the final Game Boy games, these are some really big ticket items here in terms of their price difference from the American versions. This is a really good thing to do if you're really into collecting, but you don't want to spend a ton of money on your games. You just want to be able to play some good games for the Game Boy. So these are some really big ticket items that I got for a good deal. So, first up, we have Mole Mania. This is one of the games directed by Miyamoto that is less known than pretty much anything else. There's lots of videos about it on YouTube. This is Mole Mania, one of the more expensive Game Boy games. I have only seen this in one retro store ever, and they were charging $80 for it, which is just a really high price point. I don't think it actually sells for that much. I'm sure you could get it for closer to $50, but I paid $3 for this game, and again, this has very little text in it at all, so I'm super excited to play this because otherwise I wouldn't really get a chance to, because I don't want to pay that much for a single game. I have a little more to tell about this game after we're done here, because it goes super well with the Super Game Boy, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Next up, we have Kirby's Pinball. I'm a huge fan of Pokemon Pinball. I bought that for my Game Boy about a year and a half ago. It's one of my favorite games, and Kirby Pinball should be pretty similar, but without the Rumble Pack. And so I was just excited to get another pinball game for the Game Boy with one of my favorite characters. I'm sure you can already tell what this is. Pokemon Crystal. And look how shiny that is. Such good condition here. This is one of the most expensive Game Boy games you can possibly get. It runs for about $100 in America, maybe more, for one with really good condition. And the Japanese version, in my opinion, is way cooler. It's got the silver front, and in the back it has this crystal actually printed onto the PCB under this cartridge. It is the actual physical board under the plastic. Looks so cool. Super excited about this. This is another game that is super dialogue heavy, so I won't be able to play it until I learn to read a little more Japanese. And last but not least, we have Kirby Tilt and Tumble. This is one of the coolest Game Boy Color games, if you ask me. The cartridge just looks so cool and different from other ones because it has this extended front up here. It has a little bit different shape than this. This is curved like that, and then this has a circle in it. And that is because there is a motion or a gyro sensor in here, because this is one of the first games ever made with motion controls. Here are all the handheld games I got. There's the 2 3DS games, 1 Game Gear game, and 9 Game Boy games. Super exciting. I'm so excited to play all of these. They're going to be super cool. Here are my 5 Super Nintendo games. Super excited about all these. These 4 over here don't need any translation, but this one will, so I'll figure out how to do that later down the road. Last but not least, my 3 N64 games I got None of these will need any English translation. These are great games to play without any reading ability, so that will be awesome. Super excited about all those. I'll have a video up here on how I remove the region lock on my Super Nintendo and my N64. Those will also be in the description if they don't show up here. It's hard to even put on camera the mass size of the amount of games and items I was able to get for super cheap. I paid only about $112 for all this stuff. Just for a little proof to show you how well these work on a normal Game Boy, I'll take this one out here and I'll put in Kirby Tilt and Tumble. This is the first time I've ever put this in. Turn this guy on. A little bit of text at the beginning there, but as we get into the game, we can start the classic mode, and this has a working save battery because these all have progress. And this game is super cool as it uses motion controls. So I'll have to play this soon. And he died. Sad. That was so exciting opening all of those. If you guys like watching unboxing videos like this, make sure to comment below and say that you want to see some more like this, because it's fun for me to do, and if you like it, I'll make more. At the end of this video, I'll just show a little bit of what the Super Game Boy looks like with games like Mole Mania or Kirby Pinball. I have lots of videos in the description and in these end cards that will show up here that will go over my region locking tutorials, how I can take those off for Super Nintendo and N64. And Game Boy, again, does not have any region lock at all. So let's eject that there. And here's the Super Game Boy with Mole Mania. I just insert it in here, like that. Hopefully this will work the first time. And I stick it in the Super Nintendo. I can't believe he just steals his children and wife. This is not okay. We have to save them. This is so sad. Okay, I can't read that, but I know it's something about how he stole the wife and children. First, I don't know why you would leave a note, but let's see, level 1. So this game apparently is one of Miyamoto's unknown masterpieces, so... Yeah, I don't really know what that says. But it's okay, because that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is to, like, dig and get through the puzzles. Like this. Something like that. Yeah. Look at that. That's how you win the game. Boom.